Good evening and welcome to the Darkmom Consortium for July the 13th, 2021, and it is Captain Picard's birthday. Or I guess it will be his birthday because he hasn't been born yet. But, we just know what the day is, July 13th. And I got up this morning thinking it was July 12th. Duh. One of those mornings. One of those mornings this morning. And despite the fact that it's still sunny outside, it's pretty dark in here, so I'll turn on some lights. And let's get going for the day. DT's off playing with the guys, doing something, probably ice. Because, that's how the game gets played. And in the meantime, I can do a little Horgon hunting while I'm waiting for them to get here, or I'll do my thing today. Because, heck with everybody. Let's see which one have I got here. I've got that one. Good. I had to do this last night. I like my terminology. I wanted to stay on the 20-hour cooldown last night, so I set my alarm for 1 o'clock. Messed that one up. I didn't need to be up till 1:30, so I was up for a half an hour playing Ryza last night, and I was on it. I mean, I was hitting everything. I was so stoked. Could not have been a better night. And then I was so on it that I could not. What do you mean? I am not very quiet. I have got voices and stuff. What the heck? All right, let's see what's up. Now that's interesting. I set it back up. It set all the way back from this morning. That is really interesting. Thank you. How's that? Is that better? Okay, that's really weird. I set it up to 11.2 this morning from 7.1, and it was back to 7.1. And that's not the default. That's my different reset. That's very annoying. Let's see if I can get this done in 4 minutes. Shouldn't be a problem. So how are you doing? I looked through your notes even though I was at work today and therefore couldn't do anything. I was busy working on our costumes such as they are this afternoon. So I haven't gotten a chance to do a lot today. Probably won't get anything done till after Vegas hits. Had an interesting day though. First thing, yeah, I did like what I saw though. It's kind of hard to do it off my laptop at work where I don't have a lot of game. But the information looked good. It looked like it's got some potential. I like the fact that you built in all of the ways that you've got your spam bar set up, which does make it easier. Let's see what I've got. I've got that one. Hey, WC, how are you doing? Boy, this is a little weird today. It's a little slow, just like me. It's also very quiet. I'm going to have to crank up my background volume. I don't have spam keys for ground. I only have them for space, which is just a me thing. Ooh, I found 10 Horgons. Ooh. All right.
Welcome to Ryza. Have you picked up a souvenir Horgon yet?
Yes, I will get a Horgon. Let's see, which makes me... Oh, sweet. Congratulations. I hope that goes very well for you. I know it's very exciting. Well, I have a similar spam key or tray setup for all of my space things, which makes it very consistent whether I'm using the Carl setup or the 8-ball setup. They're virtually identical. And I just can trade out the abilities here and there, but I don't do anything for ground. So this should be interesting once I start doing that.
All keybinds aren't that bad.
Well, I just haven't done them. I'm not criticizing them. And hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good. What the heck have I got here? I have a fire spray. Let us raise up a fire spray. Think they could make a few more types of birds here? There's only like 8,000 birds. Did I start an egg? I started an egg. Yay. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but I managed to win some races today. I was not trying to win races. It
You
just
participate in
happened.
the races to get stuff in, and
I just
and
wanted to,
got
get enough to get some favors out of it. I was having some, and it was a completely filled map, so I figured there's no way I was going to win it, and it wasn't even close. Yes, that is a DTWC. Rezdul, can you hear DT okay?
He was a bit quiet.
Okay, let me see if I can fix him.
Since kind of muted the stream, so can't really judge anything. But
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I'm not sure
he
what's
was about
going on.
20% of what you were, maybe.
Well, I just cranked up this mic, so that might help. And I cranked up my mic.
Yeah.
There we go.
Audio in recording software, it's a night.
Oh man, it's just. I thought it was too loud yesterday, and people were saying DT was too loud. Now he's too quiet. Then you're telling me I'm too quiet.
And then
And then, well, if it's better, it's better. That's all we can do.
Try again soon.
Yep, fiddle until it's better.
Yes. So I got to work today, and my boss is asking me, what's the time difference between here and Fiji? Well, I didn't know that one off the top of my head. Turns out it's 16 hours. But the people in Fiji wanted to have a meeting with our guys, so it's set for 1 this morning, and they're going into the office to have this meeting. Oh,
nope.
good. Well, hey, if it happens, it would be a nice contract. So yes, I can see why they would do that. And I said, well, want to put the coffee on, so all you have to do is start it. And don't worry about the dishes, I'll get those. And I expect that I won't see you tomorrow. It's 16. It's plus 16. So our 1 o'clock.
It's -8.
No, it's plus 16. 16 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, but you could also
or -8, and you're still there.
for the time that works for the date, it doesn't.
If the time works a day, yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to make sure because they were telling me that the meeting was going to be tomorrow at 1 a.m. And I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. And then it turns out it's today at 1 a.m. But the upshot is they're having a meeting in 6 hours. And I kind of suggested, you guys could stay home tomorrow.
What, riser instance?
Yeah, but
you
that would
guys
give
do?
you a day off. We're not going to give you a day off.
Oh, no, they're all salaried. They can take a day off if they want to. I mean, believe me, there's enough weeks where they put in 60, 70, 80 hours. Yeah, I wound up using time and date for WC. Thank you, and a couple other people had recommended it, so it's one of my defaults.
What instance is everyone in?
I'm apparently in 9. I don't know if anyone else is.
Everyone's
Oh.
four.
Oh, I had this. I was working on my Riemann, getting stuff together, starting slowly working to build a tank, and
Yeah.
one of our fleet mates, who shall remain nameless, Mark,
Mark is
wanted me to
nameless?
get. Yeah,
Mark the Nameless.
Oh, what? Sorry. Oh, okay. What have I done?
You don't have a name, Mark.
said he was going to hunt me down and get all the low enough favors from me. And it's like,
Oh.
you can have all this Riemann, which is none.
You gave him away yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Oh, there
gave
we go.
everything away. I haven't got any new ones yet.
Well, what, you didn't stay up till 1 in the morning working on them like I did?
No, I slept.
Sleeping. Sleep is for losers.
For those who are tired.
Oh, Piffle.
Well, that was that bored.
I got up to do the game because, whatever.
Of course, you.
And
Because you have no life.
because I have, oh God, the problem is that I wound up with massive insomnia and I'm lying in bed trying to get back to sleep, totally uncomfortable and completely awake and doing, should I just get up? Should I just get up? Oh, second place isn't bad.
Been there, done that. Problem with that is, if I do get up, it'll
Yeah.
take days until I'm in a decent place again.
Yeah, and worse than that, tomorrow is the day I drive into Bloomington, Illinois, which is It gets me in at 11 at night, 12 at night, if I'm lucky. So doing that and then having a night of 4 hours sleep, nah, I'm not going to be happy doing that.
Bloomington in Illinois is the one in every state over here or something.
Swear to God, there's one in every state. There's a Bloomington, Indiana, which isn't too far from here. There's a Bloomington, Illinois, which
Minnesota.
they're everywhere.
It's like Duluth. I know of at least 4 Duluths.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Duluth, Missouri, Duluth,
Minnesota?
Georgia,
Minnesota.
I believe.
Yeah,
There's
Georgia
one.
one's slightly
French
north
name,
of
isn't
it.
it? So it's in that area, I suppose.
Ah. Because there's the
The one
running
in,
Minnesota joke of, does this bus go to Duluth? No, it goes beep beep. Sorry.
Yeah,
It's
sort
a
of like the
Minnesota
Simpsons
joke.
point. It's sort of like Simpsons. There's a Springfield everywhere.
The Duluth in Minnesota is probably didn't help the time of year, but Duluth, Minnesota is brutal. I remember was it 2020 in January. I managed to arrange for my entire team to kind of descend on Minnesota because it was our kind of
God.
biggest office.
When were
So
you
we
there?
decided to January 2020. So we decided to get a rental car over the week because we were there over a weekend, and we drove to Duluth. And it wasn't too bad as you were going north, but obviously you've just come out of a warm hotel into a warm car and stopping halfway for fuel. And then we got to Duluth, and it was just white everywhere. But it was that cold that when you try and open the door to the car, it doesn't just open. You kind of have to like really go, just knock it to get it open.
Yeah.
So we parked up, and we were planning on walking around the main area of Duluth, and we walked for like a block before both of our ears were stinging so badly. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
just like, bollocks to this, we need to go and find somewhere. So luckily, about half a block away, we found a brewery. So we
Oh,
just
yeah,
thought, right,
there's
we're
that.
camping in here for a bit.
So the reason they strongly encourage you when you're visiting northern Minnesota to keep your driver's license on you at all times is so you can remember what your gender was. Because it will freeze and fall off.
It was so cold, it went back inside.
Yeah, really. It's cold in Minnesota. I was there in April to see a play, and it had been
It was
nice.
so cold.
It had been nice during the day. Then the evening rolled around, and of course I had clothes for going out at night, and we decided to make a really quick trip to the mall and buy winter clothes because we were dying. I don't like to go out to nice dinners and go out to the theater and stuff wearing blue jeans and sweatshirts, but we were chic in our blue jeans and sweatshirts along with every other person who was there. Yeah. Well, this was pre-cell phones, but it's really cold there. It's really cold.
Well, if if your rum freezes over, then you know it's really cold.
Well, they have, for cars, they have tank heaters, which are heating units that you put into the crankcase with the oil to keep the oil from at least solidifying. It might not freeze solid, but it won't be possible to crank it. That's just normal.
The other thing that I find a bit crazy over there, now you're on the topic of cars, is they apparently, because they use that much salt and grit on the roads, they actually have to regularly, like a couple times a year, have the underside of their car treated so that it doesn't erode away because of all the salt and other stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Absolutely mental, that.
Well, it's actually better there than like in Illinois, and the reason is that it's so cold that the salt doesn't get as much chance to do the damage until the weather starts to thaw, and that's in June or July. So in Chicago, it's this constant salt thaw, and it just wrecks the bottom of your car.
So, what are we doing today?
I have no clue. What do you guys want to do today?
Well, Mark and myself are about to queue for the second of 3 Lucari TFOs, probably
Ooh, what you doing?
Zenkethi Front.
I'll join you for Zenkethi Front. Are you going
Okay,
Federation or KDF?
Federation, but if we can get 5 of us, we can do it as a private.
No, the
I'll
tank
join in.
works really good for Zenkethi Front. I'm happy with it.
I'm joining.
Okay. Razul, you going to join us?
Yeah, sure, give me an invite.
Let me grab my tune. Oh, it was on that tune.
Can't. Are you Oh yeah, logging in. That'll be why.
Well, WC, that's my thing in Vegas, is I tend not to, as DT will tell you, I ship all the clothes to him, and then anything I need short term, I just go buy it the first day we're there.
Sort of like the point we get most of what we need for the setup. If there's changes that we need, like a banner or something, we just get it in that first day or so.
Yeah.
We've got a minute or two yet. Rizal, have you got the invite?
Yeah, just didn't realize I had it. Too many screens. Too much stuff going on.
Well, Marhawkman
minutes.
sand is really common in Michigan because of the extreme cold. Salt doesn't work, so they basically sand it. Yeah, and it wears the heck out of your car there too.
Yeah,
Well done.
which is why they have these underbody treatments, which, yeah.
That's really common.
That's a common dealer add-on out there.
What is weird though is because of the sand, their drainage systems for draining, dirt and water off the roads is used to being able to handle that quantity of sand versus if they did in Chicago, it just completely bollocks up everything. On the other hand, they can't handle salt. They don't have it available, so they just don't salt the roads. You have to know how to drive a car in unsalted roads, which gets really interesting. Hit a patch of black ice coming back from Lansing as I was trying to outrun a blizzard that was coming in. I did outrun it, though. It was a harrowing drive, and hit black ice just outside my hometown, which would have been kind of interesting because I would have gone through hometown sideways instead of straight through. But at least I would have had someplace to go. Wreck the car, walk down the hill, go over to the lumberyard. Cousin Bill, can I spend the night? Yeah. I mean, so if you're going to wreck your car, at least do it in your hometown.
Can you, pull my car out of the ditch?
Yep. Well, I would have waited for the morning, but yeah. Where'd you land your car? Well, you remember where Aunt Ida's house was? Yeah. Well, that's where the car is.
Do you remember where her house was? Yeah. Do you remember where the living room was? Yeah. Right there.
It's in the living room. No. You just got to go with it. When the car starts going sideways, just kind of steer into it. Don't hit the brakes. You hit the brakes, you're going to be really unhappy.
It obviously was black ice, but I was doing a job. It was like 3 in the morning. I had to drive out. Going down the freeway, the truck literally starts spinning. It spins around 360 degrees and keeps going. It's like, I'm sitting here just kind of hanging on for dear life because this is literally everything was there was no issues anywhere else, but so I'm like doing this spin at 65 miles an hour. It's like, what the fuck?
Yep.
And so yeah, I was just sort of like, just turn into it. Don't die. Hopefully we slow down before something wraps.
Are we ready now that Mom's finished that thing?
Oh, you could have gone without it. Don't worry. I can always come back and do that. But yes, we can go to it.
Rizal, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, how can you not be ready?
That's a very German way to say I was born ready.
Marhawken, I've never hit black ice on a bike yet.
Vivu.
Wee woo.
Actually, on 4 wheels and everything, it's freaky enough. Especially when you're going.
Ah, here we go. I will say, coming home, let's see, what was it, February or March, when we had a blizzard coming in. I knew it was coming in, and it started to snow in Chicago, and I'm like, well, I can leave now and stay ahead of it, not realizing the storm that was hitting Chicago was the north edge of it. The south edge was way into Indiana already. It was 6 hours of hell. Couldn't see anything, completely whited out road. Stayed behind an Amazon truck till he finally got so far ahead of me. I'm just trying to stay in his ruts, and then I found him in a ditch about 5 miles later.
Well,
You,
that
in
didn't follow
mirror
that
universe.
path.
Well, the thing with
Just remember,
Yes.
mirror universe rise up, or you don't hunt Hordon. Hordon hunts you.
Good point. Well, actually, the trick Marhawkman on bicycling on black ice is called walking. Oh, goody, I timed out. Not to worry, I'll be there in a moment. On my way.
Enemies are dying, so everything is fine.
I realised I've not changed ship back to one of my decent ones.
The definition of what constitutes a decent ship varies widely.
I mean, it's a good ship. Let me rephrase it: a decent build. It's just a
Even
good
there, the
ship.
definition varies widely.
I think this one gets just shy of 200k. I think it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, I would consider anything above 10k to be enough for advanced, okay? Well, looks like I'm just protecting the base.
Hey, DT,
That
I'm
works.
heading over to you. Unless you've got a bomb there. You got a bomb?
Yeah,
I've
he's
a
got
bomb.
one.
Okay.
I've got one as well.
There's another station over here though. About render distance.
Wish we
I
could
mean-
increase render distance.
Well,
Oh,
fuck. Only 2 Zinkethi bases remain.
there'll be one in a second if we can get to where I'm going.
One Zinkethi base left.
I think I just blew that one up for you. Sorry about that.
I don't have any speed boosts on this particular character, on this particular ship, sorry. So everything's just like, come on, move.
Well, there's going to be a bomb here if anyone wants one.
Who's got one?
Got one lost Ignites.
Good evening, Swear. How are you? Well, that was easy.
Hank's
I
good
see.
at this. DPS could be really good at this.
Yeah, I got lagged there slightly, couldn't get in. I get back and there's already 2 bases gone. Okay, well.
I could loot 2 bases solo. It's just like, oh look, they're threatening me.
Oh no.
Fire phasers.
Be still.
I noticed on the subreddit earlier someone posted some sort of starter pack. I can't remember which one it was, but you get like, I think it's like you get the T6 Reliance, some inventory slots, and blah 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 blah. And it's just like he posted it as first come first serve. So I thought, oh okay, fair enough. I'll see if I can grab one of the codes. So I messaged him. I was thinking, right, that could be quite useful to stick in like the fleet fund for like the prize pool or something. Then I realised that he'd done this thing that everybody will rip the crap out of him for, which was just literally posted them in screenshots attached to the Reddit thread for all of the bots to get.
Oh.
Oh, I got a message from Cryptic today.
Did you?
Yeah, because I tried the Magic game,
Yeah?
played it once. I got a Federation Starter Pack code, a Federation Admiral bundle,
Really?
and a
I've seen that on the
Neverwinter
Reddit,
code.
yeah.
Wow.
When did you play? When
I'm
did you
not-
try the game? Magic game.
I tried it. I tried it when it first came out. I didn't like it.
What's the magic game?
It was a Magic the Gap, Magic Legends game they were baiting. They were doing open beta on,
Oh yeah, I heard about
and then
all that.
then it didn't work out. So
Well,
Have you
but
told
it
the
means I
code?
got a but that means I got a Reliant inventory slots, Bridge Officer slots, very rare space gear, an Academy uniform, a Valiant escort, an Andromeda cruiser, a Pathfinder science vessel, more inventory slots, a Cation Bridge Officer,
nice.
racing uniform, Exocom pet, Voyager
crap.
Seeker, and Pathfinder titles. And I think since I have all the ships and all the costumes, pretty much, it'll probably all end up going on the alt account.
Sweet. Mar Hawkman says he got it too. I never think to play other games or do stuff like that, so I'm always like, I should have done something.
And
clever
then in
like that.
Neverwinter, which I haven't played in a while, but there's a Moon Elf race, a Dawn Unicorn, a Companion, some Regalia, some enchantments, and a few other, and another character slot, and I will use that on Love
Wow.
my regular account. So this will be. It'll be fun.
Wow. You got,
But giveaways like that at least mean I don't have to buy ships from the alt account.
well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have much of a chance to switch out anything, as I was saying, Russell, tonight, or actually even before Rise is done, most likely. It depends. I have a major project running behind me at the moment, which I've got to do when I'm not here. So, yeah, bit of an understatement. Okay,
Yeah.
what am I looking for? Dry sand. There's dry sand. No, my life is on hold for the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Only about 5 weeks.
Yeah, I've got a few things going.
And then comes the really short time of having your of trying to get things ready for Chicago.
Oh, we've got like 8 months, which sounds great, but we both know it really is going to be tight, especially for financing it.
Yeah.
But we haven't even gotten that information yet, so who knows? Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it's hard
What's
enough to do
next?
these things a year apart. 8 months is going to be.
Yeah. Well, this year we had way more than 8 months, and it still was unbelievably tough to get it done. It's one of those things, if I took time off from playing at the game, I had to have time to work on stuff for playing the game. But it doesn't work that way, does it? Hey there, WC. You're looking very monster from 80,000 Leagues.
Oh no! Don't do a fan dance, no.
It doesn't help if you remove the fan.
Yes, there's our handsome Gorn that we love.
Hey, Mom, you can do a powerboard race, earn more favors. Or
Fine.
monkey tags, I believe it is.
I don't want the stupid monkey tags. I just want the favors. I have
On
enough
the other hand, monkey barbecue.
Don't tempt me.
You're actually
mean-
going to do the race.
You
What's the
said
race
do
day
the
take?
race.
Come on.
Come on. Come on, come on.
With that many people, that's gonna be a mess.
Yep.
I don't feel like
I'll
doing the
even put
race.
on
I
high
figure out.
heels and do it.
I really have no desire to win the race. I don't need any more tags.
No, eggs are one thing, but you can buy eggs. But I've been lucking out on getting them in the Horgon hunts.
Yeah, I got a couple. But I have no reason to use them for anything.
Well, you just use them to get more, raise
You
the birds
hatch
and
the
trade them in
egg,
for
you turn
marks.
into marks.
I like it when I've got a new tune that doesn't have a bunch of marks because it's a great way to get them.
Maybe I should look into that.
But now that they've got endeavors, and you can give them from one account to another account, well, not account, but from one character to another character on the endeavors, it makes it easier.
Oh yeah. I just wish the full spec point item and the mark boxes from the endeavors would actually stack.
No, yeah, that would be way too cool. Oh goody, so I've got more of this stupid monkey thingies. WC, the easiest way is get off your board and walk over there.
Yep. Be right back.
Okay. But let me take a look at that. So, there you are. Okay, that's weird. Let's see if I can download that. There we go. Let's see. So, Rasul, were we talking about that for my big Gorn?
It works for any engineer. I
Okay.
found that it works best for true Federation characters,
Really?
because then everything is phaser damage,
Mm-hmm.
and you can benefit from the resistance tutor a bit more. But it should work for all factions. I mean, the only thing that isn't phaser damage is the support drones, and that's not a major contribution or anything. So
Yeah, I have to think which fleet this tune is in, because that makes a big difference. Your Gorn fan dance, WC, would only be better if you were wearing the costume from Gamesters of Triskelion. Then it'd just be like cringe, but massive cringe. All right, which fleet am I in here? I am in Hughes. Oh, yeah, anything. Wow, we're slipping on Hughes Heroes, folks. Let's see. We need colony battery provisions, and I don't have any. That's scary. Ooh, got lots of vouchers. Use that for vouchers.
Okie dokie.
Are you back?
I believe I am.
Take care, WC. We'll talk later, I'm sure. Have fun. I can't wait to hear about your group. All right, what are we up to, folks?
usually some kind of killing stuff.
Really? Us?
I want to become more violent people. We're not violent.
No, 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 no. Not us.
Not us at all.
Nope, nope. Not at all.
Well, as you guys know, I'm always up for anything ground.
And most of us are up for anything space.
I know.
If I play ground, I'll play a game that has better ground combat.
Hey, I like ground combat. I prefer it to space, to be honest. But hey, that's me.
Same
All right.
here, I prefer ground.
Let me grab something to drink. I'll be right back.
the primary reason I don't like space combat in STO is because Star Trek is not about space combat at all.
Well,
It's
no.
not about space that much at all. It's primarily about
Doomsday
people.
Machine, Balance of Terror, Wrath of
Yeah.
Khan.
Yeah, there's occasionally single scenes in which space combat is a thing, but even then, it's about how people handle those situations, not the situations themselves. The Doomsday Machine was never about the machine. It was always about how Pike handled his loss against the machine and then sacrificed himself or whoever the captain was.
It wasn't Pike.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. That dude.
Dicker.
Yeah, whatever. Him.
Ready to.
But yeah, that's what I'm missing actually here in Star Trek Online.
What?
Star Trek, for me, Star Trek is about people. Star Trek Online is about spaceships and combat.
Unfortunately, it's either space combat or ground combat. Space combat looks better.
Well, but the thing is, I agree that I would love to see more character-driven, story-driven, and less pew 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 pew. But
Doesn't
But
scale
pew,
for massively
pew, pew.
multiplayer games,
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah, pew 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 pays the bills.
I understand that. But, I still gotta like
Yeah.
the stuff I like.
Yeah, I'm also not a fan of the massive hordes of enemies that you're facing. Because, quite frankly, in any Star Trek that I've seen,
Yes.
with the exception of the new stuff, it's usually 1-on-1 or maybe 1-on-2 or 3. Not 1-on-200.
Oh, piffle. Details. No, you're absolutely right. But, they're right. You can't make money doing that. And
Yep.
if they can't make money, they're not going to do this, so
They can't make money, then
then it's not going
while
to be
they
here for us.
could do it, yeah, we're just not going to see much of a
Yeah.
game out of it.
Let me put it this way. I'm pretty sure that if they wanted to, they would find a way to make that work. But they started the game in a different direction, and change the direction would kill the game. So now they're not gonna change it. But if they had started in that direction from the beginning, could have worked.
I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to think that, but I don't know if that's a realistic thought.
Raid events are the primary endgame for World of Warcraft. That is essentially group against single person.
The raid events aren't against someone else; they're against an environmental thing.
They're against a single target, and that's what I meant for the TFOs.
Oh, right. I think the thing that would make the TFOs a little bit more interesting in Star Trek Online, to kind of borrow from especially Warcraft and probably most other MMOs, is, let's be honest, like you can do an ISE or you can do a Hive Onslaught, you can do whatever. They are comparatively short, but length aside, there needs to be decent rewards. I mean, when was the last time you saw something drop from any of those that wasn't something where you just went, oh, okay, that's not bad, that'll get me 100k on the exchange, rather than it being something that's useful? And that's kind of the difference, is like if you grind some like the higher end, some of the, not higher end, sorry, some of the end game stuff, say from World of Warcraft, you can grind it for weeks, run it over and over, and when people do it because you get some like uber rare, difficult to drop, super duper item that no one's going to want to sell because it's that rare.
Yeah.
But you don't have that in Star Trek Online, and it feels like a good way that they could probably find some. There's probably a way that they can monetize it in some way, but I don't know why they don't do it. Make some of these TFLs longer, have a decent reward at the end of it, not just a couple of marks. Feels like a missed opportunity to make that.
Yeah, for me, there's this.
Well, some of the TFOs are long, but they feel very grindy sometimes. On the
Yeah,
long
but-
ones.
Well, with a bad team. With a good team, it's a rare TFO that does take more than 6 months.
Oh no, that's not true. at all. There's
Early
there's quite a
on.
few that are time gated.
Must be your lucky day.
Plus, you
I
also
said
have
it's a
to kind
rare.
of,
I said it's
You
rare,
also-
not doesn't exist.
you also have to consider, like, there's a couple of TFLs in Star Trek Online that are long for Star Trek Online, but are barely a starting raid in another game.
Okay, that's
Like,
true.
I've done like not even like a proper end game raid in Warcraft before now, and it's taken me a good 40 minutes.
Yeah,
There's
usually,
nothing in Star Trek Online that's like that.
yeah, usually
Yeah,
half an
well,
hour
they
to an
need-
hour is normal rate.
One thing
Wow.
I feel the need to point out here is that the TFOs in Star Trek Online used to have unique tech drops that you had to get to.
I've been
like,
trying to
Borg
say
stuff.
that for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, they removed a lot of awesome stuff from the game.
The thing with those though is that they weren't tradable. They would
Right.
bind a character on pickup.
Right.
Hmm.
I hate bind mechanics.
And you had to run them to get the the honor guard gear and the elite honor guard gear and the elite Mako gear. Yeah, the elite Mega gear, if I recall.
See, this is actually one thing they do in Champions Online a lot that they don't do in Star Trek Online for whatever reason. I mean, because like Champions Online, for example, there's like I think something like a 0.1% chance each time you kill a manimal enemy that they might drop a sword that looks like the swords that the manimals use. And stuff like that. It's like, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can just randomly get from various enemies in the game that, okay, sure, grinding is involved, but some of it's team-based grinding because of the fact that it's not soloable content. Just one of those things. It's like some things in Champions Online do use the sort of reputation style that Stowe does, but when they do that, they don't have reputation tiers. They just have collect a big pile of coins and then give it to us. You don't have like the tier upgrade system like in Star Trek Online.
Since I don't play other games, I really don't have a basis of comparison.
There's a lot in many different games that could be very valuable for Star Trek Online. But at this point in time, I highly doubt anything major would change in the game.
See, there are actually some things that the devs did to when programming enemies that would give certain enemies unique drop tables. It's just that they never programmed in rare and special items for those.
Mhm.
Just, you know, mostly junk things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for example, in Terra Nor,
They
Uh,
actually used to have more of those than they currently do, and erased a lot
Yeah.
of them. Because it used to be that, like for example, like space weapon drops, you had a high chance of getting the energy type of whatever enemy you were currently fighting, in not just like random energy types like we have now.
yep.
Of course, getting anti-proton weapons was a bit of a challenge given how few enemies actually used anti-proton weapons in that way.
Yeah,
But
Hera
just like-
Okay, yeah.
Anti-proton stuff was a small fortune back then, but you know.
But I still consider that how it should be. I mean, you should get the stuff that the enemy is using.
Logically, it makes sense. I mean,
That would
it's
make
kind of
sense, yes.
like how one example that's still in the game of that is that when you're fighting Jim Hadar, they sometimes drop the consumable device version of Ketracel White.
Yep.
No other enemies in the game drop Ketracel White devices.
Also, in some mission, Borgs drop a grenade and a hypo that are unique to
Yes.
Borg.
Yeah,
But that's pretty rare.
Another example.
I had
Yeah.
a Borg drop a croissant the other day.
Well, that's so Borgian.
I mean, it's not even a joke. I was
No,
on.
I totally believe you.
As
Well,
DT and Thingy would comment on, I was grinding deferrer to get one of the what's it called, the refrequencer thingy, and it was just getting really ridiculous drops. Like, you know, here's a Tula berry, here's Chateau Picard, and one here's a croissant. Because
Well-
because of course that's
We
what
are the
Kieran
French
told me.
Borg.
Makes
We
no
are the
sense.
French Borg?
The cringe Borg.
Maybe they got the recipe off Picard.
Yeah,
There's,
that's what I was thinking.
a list of what are considered generic food items in the game,
Mhm.
and all of the generic food items can theoretically drop from almost any ground enemy.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
really
check-
shouldn't.
So Picard and Tula berries are actually in that.
Well, my issue with things that are drops that really don't have a use anymore.
Well, most of the food items in the game never had a use in the first place.
Right, so why? Why do we get them as drops? There's
Well,
other things.
the devs programmed them in more for flavor than for practicality, I think, because of the fact. Although this is actually one of those things that I've noticed in the game that the developers seem to have had in mind when programming the game that doesn't make sense to me. Why did the developers seem to expect us to heal outside of combat when we just take a knee and relax for 3 seconds
Yeah.
and fully restore our health? Because that's the only actual use most food items have, is to heal you outside of combat.
Yeah.
And by the time you're out of red alert status and can eat the food item, you don't need it.
You're already healed, exactly.
You
Yeah.
found it. Quickly, dig it up.
There's a
but-
couple exceptions where it heals you for a while, and you could take it before combat, so that you're in the beginning of the combat. But ground combat is so easy, there's no reason for any heal items like that.
It's why the special event foods have stat buffs associated with them.
Right.
It actually gives you a reason to
Well
use it
done.
before
Well,
you
how
enter combat. Otherwise, you just don't need it. But this is
Yeah.
actually something that's reflected in the current ground skill tree, though, is that there's
Yep.
a skill in there for regeneration on ground.
Mm-hmm.
That
What does
only
it
works out
not
of combat.
do? Yeah, only works outside combat.
But if
The ground regen skill, the skill only works out of combat.
why do you
item
need it
that
out
has
of
a fixed,
combat?
Well
you don't
done.
need it out of
But
combat.
how can I
Well,
Okay.
that's what I was getting at, though. It's like, why did the developers specifically program it to work that way?
I think in the beginning they had more a TV show style play in mind, where you during a fight couldn't heal. You could only heal under rare circumstances, like having a medic actually apply the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Well,
look
say,
back at the very
There's a
beginning of the
bunch
game,
How can I help?
healing was slow.
Yeah. Very much.
But see, the reason why I mentioned that, though, is because of the fact that this is the revamp that they did a few years back. And I remember one of the live streams, someone actually managed to get Borticus, I think it was, to answer a question about why they did that, or whether they would change it to give you some sort of a boost in combat. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. It's just like one of those things. It's like he indicated that it was an intentional design choice, even though he also recognized that most of the players thought it was completely worthless because
Yeah.
it doesn't help.
No,
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
if you have a single item with even just one health regen modifier on your armor, for example, you'd have no reason to ever use.
Yeah,
Well-
I used to keep the food just so I could breed tribbles.
You remember the old Jim Hidar featured episode series?
Yeah, that armor is what, 220% health regen?
Oh, it is ridiculous. Well,
Well-
but here's the thing. Part of the reason why it's so ridiculous is that the original version of it that you would get from the featured episode series was actually comparable in stats to ordinary purple quality gear. The current version that players are using is actually something that was originally a low-buy store exclusive item.
Yeah.
Just while we're all on pause, as it were, anyone up for doing another Zincathy front in 4 minutes' time?
Sure.
Yes.
Not on this tune, but on a different tune, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I won't change tunes, but I would be up for it.
Okay, let's send some invites out.
Oh, let me switch tunes then.
I'm going to change to my Romulan.
Is he KDF or Fed aligned?
Fed aligned.
But if you make it private, it shouldn't matter.
That's a good point.
Well, I'll go Federation, so. Thank you.
So many engineers.
Who am I missing now? Team. Just you now, Mark.
Yeah, I wish I would replace all the food drops with, say, the basic tier 1 small ground consumables. The power cells, the high posts, that kind of stuff.
I have so flipping many hypos.
Yeah, but they at least have a use.
I just give full stacks of hypos to my bridge officers, and some of my characters I'm like, I need to find more bridge officers to give hypos to
Yeah.
because my bridge officers don't use them up fast enough.
Nope, they don't. I've got other stuff if I get injured. I don't need to rely on hypos. What I do with them is when I've got a healing for an endeavor, heal 18,000 on the ground, for example. Just grab all the loose ones from everybody and just burn them. Yep, Duffy says sell them to the replicator. Yep, that too.
Well, actually, one thing you could do it for the ground healing one is do a full team story mission and de-equip the personal shields from your bridge officers and give them all stacks of hypos.
There you go. Yeah, but if I'm going to sell them to the vendor DT, then I'm going to have to go all the way to the vendor where it's one of those, it's 6 in the morning. I've got 25 of them on all of the tunes. Just pull them all together, throw them on, go down to Nukara, and stand there in the acid for a while.
Also, is a full stack of hypos only something like 1,000 EC?
Yeah, but still, I would prefer the hypos and the power cells and so on compared to the food items, because the food items are just junk.
Yeah, as I said, the only
We've
time
been
I
in trouble
at
with
least
the
have a
food
use.
items.
Yeah, really? Do you? They removed the triple breeding to 90%, 98%.
Say that again?
They removed 98% of the triple breeding.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's no
It's
fun.
it's no longer you get from triple A to B to C to D to E to A, and so on, and have to have specific foods for breeding. 90% is obvious. This is now just rarity. If you feed a triple food of a certain rarity, you get the result, and skip everything in between.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, also, that only gives you the really, really old kinds of tribbles that they had when they first programmed in the triple breeding thing.
I love the triple.
All of the newer ones are from special foods that you don't get as random drops.
Right. But I
Yep, and they breed
40
instantly from,
seconds.
and those breed instantly from any triple. So, no triple breeding again.
I do like the triple breeding. That was fun.
I liked when it was a detailed breeding list where you actually had to work to get a triple.
Yep. Yeah, I went through a lot to find an
Hey,
Osel
Mom,
twist.
I just realized something from watching you do that I'd never thought about before, but it definitely doesn't look right.
What?
Balloons sink in water.
Yeah. Do you also know something else that doesn't sit right with me?
Say that
There's
again?
there's not a single bartender on Rise that's actually a bartender.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, if you go to the promenade, there is a person that you can just talk to in person and buy the Rycian drinks from.
Yep, but he is not a bartender as in 50% vendor, and he doesn't offer the default bartender item.
Yeah,
he's
just
a special
Rycian
trend.
stuff.
He's a special person.
I think part of that is because of the fact that he sells things for Rycian tokens and not energy credits.
There's actually a couple
we
of
all
people
ready?
named bartender.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go kill some.
Yep.
Let's go blow some stuff up.
Okay, so the
We
person you're
will-
looking for is on the first floor at the other end of the promenade.
Well, so this
Doing
isn't
a
a
TFO.
bartender?
Let's doing a TFO. Take it somewhere else.
Or okay, I guess there's more than one.
Yeah, but this one only sells stuff. But let's see what she sells when we get back, so we don't get DT upset.
But see,
Yep, but it's a
there's-
region bartender, not a regular bartender.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is that? Rycian tokens. Oh, okay. That one actually does have some of the energy credit items.
Yeah.
Okay. But the other side there on the opposite side of where the race starts, there's another one over there in that
Okay.
patio.
I will head over there.
The battle is almost here.
I think they have the same as assortment of items, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I actually found a NPC named Bartender without the Raijin tech.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is he doesn't have a store. Can't talk with him.
That's a problem.
I noticed it because I was on Riser and doing some TFOs while on Riser. And my inventory was filling up and I wanted to sell stuff and I
Yeah.
couldn't. I was a little bit miffed.
I'm just shocked by the fact that we've got a German fella using the word miffed. I don't know if to be shocked or impressed.
Is there a problem with word miffed?
It's just a very un-German word.
I have quite the vocabulary by now.
I have actually picked up certain colloquialisms from Western Canada that turn out to be Ukrainian linguistic influences on Canadian English.
That's interesting.
What's I'm sorry in Ukrainian again? In Ukrainian dialect?
What?
What's I'm sorry or an apology in Ukrainian dialect?
Yeah, that's one of those things that they didn't use Ukrainian words for, apparently.
Je suis désolé. That's it in French.
But
That's
like
what they told you it
one
is.
of them is gitch, which is a Ukrainian word for underwear.
We use that term for Mark as well, git.
No, not git, gitch.
Gitch.
The comment stands.
Go. Does everybody got bombs?
I don't put it on.
No, I'm just clearing everything off. Stations.
Got that and launch your bomb, so.
Launching one now.
Only one base left. Great.
Hi, Dreadnought. Got a present for you. God damage.
Nice.
That poor Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Oh, Dreadnought.
melting.
I don't see a Dreadnought. You need a bomb. I got a bomb?
There's
Bomb
two
over
bombs
there.
over there.
There's two bombs over
Bombs
here.
everywhere.
Okay, somebody's got it. It's Mark. He's got it.
Hold
Let's
up,
defend the base and kill the last ones over there.
we don't need to kill them.
I know,
He
but
just
I want
wants
to.
to.
Good.
There we go.
Why should I let them approach the base? They might actually use those bombs. Can't have that. They're also our bombs. They don't know it, but they are.
We should do Cortez, is it? That's quite fun.
I'd be up for doing one of those in a few minutes. Need to go for a P Diddy first, but
There we go. All right. We have a Rizian bartender who, in theory, will buy stuff back from you, but not in reality.
Yep.
Okay, that's on
And
that side.
the lighthouse. The lighthouse between the resort
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom right corner of the map.
Hey, it's dance time.
To your left from where you are.
The
That-
pilot that I was talking
There's
about.
there's a bartender right there.
Okay.
No, okay, that one too. Yeah.
Ah,
I was talking about the one that's like on the bottom floors, like right below where the bird person is.
there doesn't seem to be a bartender who wants to talk to me there.
Yep,
Yeah,
but
okay,
it is
but-
a bartender. If you click actually on him,
Yeah, it
It's a
says
bartender.
bartender, but it's not a bartender who's doing anything.
yeah.
And I will
And
jump
that
over.
annoys me. He should be.
So there's a bartender over here you can interact with. And again, it's the same thing at the other one, and you can't sell to them. And what about this one over here? Same thing over here.
But they have interesting costumes for all of the Rycian NPCs, I've noticed.
Yeah, one of the things I actually am annoyed about the costumes is the female dance instructor. She has a
Yeah.
flower in her hair.
Yeah.
I want that flower. It's not available.
Oh, that's annoying.
Interesting.
Well, the tailor's got an outfit that you can't put on, so
Do the side step.
There's a couple costume items that NPCs have that are not available or are only available in a limited fashion. For example, there's a Romulan helmet that Romulans wear almost all the time in the Romulan story missions.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Club style.
but that's only available for males.
You actually can
That's not
see
fair.
female NPCs wearing it.
Yes,
Apparently.
Yes,
female
but-
NPCs can wear it, but not female characters. Player characters.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Well,
Yep.
another one that's a bug that I recently noticed, and I'm not sure exactly how long it's been this way. It may have always been this way, is that the TOS Klingon uniform, when you look at the NPCs wearing it, it has rank insignia on the collar.
Choo-choo.
Players can't do that.
Yep, there's a couple of things that I don't like. I wish that NPCs and players use as much as possible the same mechanics. And that includes the same apparel options.
Running man.
In addition, I think Klingons get the short end of the stick for apparel options.
I agree.
And a lot of the stuff that's technically Federation
Stand.
shouldn't be Federation, that should just be off-duty.
Like what?
Half of the pullovers?
The sweaters?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, they got like 15 different sweaters that are just sweaters,
Wave
essentially.
your hand.
Yes.
Well,
So, but
another
they're only available as Federation uniform. They're not available at all as off-duty.
In all fairness, though, do Klingons even want a sense of style? Aren't they more form over function? More function over form, sorry?
Keep in mind that Orions are part of the Klingon Empire.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of costume pieces that on a KDF side that are race locked a lot. There is, of course, the obvious example of the Orion bikini outfits. Sure, those are a commonly known one. Orion males, what do they get instead?
Bolts screw to the head.
Well, not just bolts, but also metal plate things, because there's
Yeah.
a specific shoulder pad style that it's a shoulder pad, not some sort of weird cybernetic implant, but a shoulder pad that you can only use on male Orions.
Yeah, I wish they would split the apparel option into three batches. One faction specific, and only the stuff that is exclusive to the faction. So has the insignia of the faction,
Club
or
style.
effectively acts as the insignia of the faction. Only that stuff is in that bundle. And the second bundle would be the race-specific stuff. Stuff that is iconic for a particular race. Vulcan robes, Orion, bikini male, whatever. There's a couple options. But those race packages should be on a per race package available in some form to be purchased by people that are not of that race. You get for free if you are the race, but you should be able to purchase if you aren't.
That's
And
a
then
good
the
idea.
last pack would be all the stuff that isn't uniform specific, that could be something other than uniform.
Another example is that Nausicaans have this cuirass costume part that, okay, admittedly, this is one would be difficult for that because presumably the devs never programmed in a female version because they never programmed in female Nausicaans either.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a very cool looking torso armor that only Nausicaans can wear.
Not to mention all the Rayman and Romulan stuff.
Oh, also, here's another one that when I realized this, it really, really made me scratch my head. Did you know that certain tutorial bridge officers are programmed in with unique costume parts you cannot
Yes,
use otherwise?
yes. I've noticed this, and it ticks me off.
Why?
There's something else that's even more annoying for me. If you compare these slider options for an alien Federation, Romulans, and Klingons, the slider options are not the same for aliens in those three factions.
No, they're not.
Romulans have significantly shorter sliders. Or at least the upper end of their slider does significantly less. For example, I can't make my current Federation character as Romulan because the sliders don't make character short enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least if I make him short, I make it very short, which means I make a full-scale, correctly proportioned character and simply shrink it. That doesn't work that way. Shorter people have shorter legs.
Yes. Well, if you
And
want
I
to do the
just can't
tall
for-
option, you can make taller legs to make them beyond normal tall.
Wave your hand.
That you can easily do.
Right.
And every single NPC has it. Or the NPCs, particularly the females, they got at least 20% too much leg.
Got too much arm.
Uh,
The arms
They
are a
got up to-
problem. The arms drive me crazy. They're wrong.
For me, it's both. They got too much leg and too much arm, way too much arm, and not enough bulk. Those
Yeah.
spindly thin legs and arms, they might be fine on a model, maybe, if she doesn't need to do any physical activity at all ever, and doesn't mind if she's close to death, half-starved, then that's fine. But if you're actually physically active, for example, in a military or military-like organization,
Just dance.
you shouldn't have you shouldn't be a stick figure.
Well, isn't it? Are you talking NPCs or are you talking captains?
Yes.
Well, captains can make their bodies any way they want to.
No.
Well, to an extent, yeah. Absolutely. You can give yourself some bulk.
Yeah, but no, the upper limit for bulk is still very, very low.
I
But the
don't
lower
know.
end for bulk is very, very thin.
Yes.
Yeah,
my opinion-
that reminds me of one other interesting thing that's people figured out about Romulans and the way Romulans were programmed into the game. Technically, choosing an allegiance changes your character's species with the way that the game code works.
Ah,
Yep.
that makes some degree of sense, though.
That's one of the things that he was getting at with the whole like Fed and KDF versions of Romulans. Not only do they have different costume options, but in some cases their max sliders are different. Why? I don't know. Well, what things so what I actually mentioned is that for alien characters specifically is that there are certain costumes you can make before you choose your allegiance that you won't be able to recreate after you choose allegiance.
Wow.
Because the slider settings are different.
Yep. That's essentially 3 different species.
Do the leg kick.
Unaligned Romulan, Federation Romulan, and Klingon Romulan. 3 different species.
All of the Romulan tutorial bridge officers are neutral Romulan.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Fed Romulan or KDF Romulan. Which again is like one of those things where that sort of faction identity doesn't work quite the same way for bridge officers that it does for
Yep.
players, because I think all of the bridge officers with the actual Romulan logo on them are more or less treated as neutral Romulan, and unlocks are fickle. I'm just
Yep.
going to say fickle.
Yep. What I would really like to see is if they split the current costume concept into 3 different sections. The first 2 would be create the body of a character, but not the costume. You create the body as a standalone entity. And then in the second stage, you create just the costume, regardless of the body that's going to use it. And then in the third part, you combine those 2 and add a little bit of flair, like makeup and hairstyle. Essentially temporary changes to those 2 base templates. And that way you have a costume, for example, for your Envire suit, and then you and your entire crew would be using that costume.
See, I have actually seen people in Champions Online make costume files that are a specific set of sliders for a character with a certain like height and
Running
build
Man.
to use as a base when creating other costumes in the future, because certain looks require very careful slider choices. Let's put it that way.
To the Running Man.
Yep, but that's because the engine is just too fuzzy.
Well, part of the reason why they do that though is simply to save time. They save this like basic generic default costume with all of these weird slider settings, and then they can load that and then apply actual like costume parts to it to make the look they want in. It's just that it's a lot of work, and quite frankly, why? I don't know.
Because Space Barbie?
I personally suspect that the reason the devs don't give us the ability to save those things separately, because, well, in Star Trek Online, you have the option load costume only and not entire, or load uniform only and not the entire
If it worked.
style.
If it actually worked.
I know. But that's kind of what I was getting at, though, is that I suspect that the whole thing is far more interconnected than we think it is.
Oh,
And
it
that
definitely is.
The two sets of settings aren't really separate entities.
Yeah, it's currently one giant mess
Well,
called character
look,
model.
one. But for example, floaters. Floaters are technically a costume part.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Certain broken costumes will actually not display the floater at all. They will, however, give you the glowing engine visuals for
Okay.
the floater, even though you don't see the floater.
That's weird.
Similarly, you can if you make one of the if you go into in the trailer and look at the different categories, uniforms, off duty, and all that stuff, and pick one of the armor options. For example, the angel suit or any of the other specifically armor options, and then activate an EV suit, particularly the CQC Enviro suit. You only get the helmet of that Enviro suit, not the rest.
But are they wearing
Which
this?
means you can actually make an Enviro suit that looks however you want it to look, within certain limit. I'm actually using that for my heavy armor. Just put on the helmet by activating the Enviro suit.
There's some other bug that will actually just cause it to just like not load the helmet for the environment.
You found it. Quickly, dig it up
I don't
and bring it
remember
back
what
to me
causes
at my
that one.
camp.
The one I mentioned is actually the other way around. I only load the helmet.
Yeah.
Duffy says on my liberated Borg, the disco environment suit doesn't even show up at all. It just shows the headlights. Yes.
Yep.
Hey, it could be worse. Could be worse for a long time. The Remans and maybe the Romulans who were wearing the cape with the two cape pieces that came off the epaulets, the capes would come up and over their head like a little tent.
Yep.
Okay, you remember that season update for the when they added new card to the game? Well, in the beta test version of that season update,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a bug on Tribble that got, I think, patched before it went live, but it used to be that doing the disable armor visuals thing, because this was back when the game did armor visuals for ordinary body armor and not just EV suits.
Mm-hmm.
But doing the disable armor visuals thing would cause the game to not draw the EV suit ever.
That's interesting.
But disable armor visuals is no longer a thing, and I think they fixed it so that it only disabled the visual of EV suits when you're, don't have them active. Before they eventually got rid of it completely.
Did we lose DT and Boom and Mark?
No.
Okay. You guys were so quiet.
I was just tapped out actually. Do you want to do a Cortez, everyone?
I'm sorry, say again?
Is it Battle of Cortez? Do you fancy doing one of them?
I'm willing to try it again. Let me do
Let's
this.
die, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead.
Hey, no, we did it successfully.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago.
I actually have never. I actually only tried once, and that was back when I was at 20k DPS or so.
Well, we did it with a fairly good team. And I think I can do it with my tank. I'm sure I can do it with probably can do it with my Romulan too now.
Do what?
Battle of Cortez. Ah! Forgot that would do that to my screen.
Cortez, is it? Oh, Cortez, that's it.
Yeah, drop me an invite.
Can you put an X in chat, please?
Actually, you know what? Yeah, this is the wrong tune.
Okay.
I accepted, but I'll have to unaccept.
I'll boot you out.
Okay, this tune's only got like 25 DPS. And I don't mean 25,000, I mean
25?
25. She's pathetic.
25 is a little low. Just a tiny low.
Just a wee bit.
I mean, even on ground, I normally expect to do somewhere around a couple hundred.
Oh, it's got 25 out there.
And even people that kind of suck on ground still manage usually up to 100.
Are we going private?
I think so.
Okay, well let me grab Kethsa. She's got better heals no matter what. I like my new Romulan that DT and I have been working on, but still isn't the strongest ship. Does some damage, doesn't do a lot of staying alive. So there.
Did you return, yeah?
Yep.
Get there. It's just going to take time. Take
You got
time.
four.
Is it elite only, yeah?
Yep.
You got 4 engineers?
This should be good.
Yeah,
So,
You make that sound
Not
like a bad thing.
complaining. Not complaining. I love
wait
engineers.
until you see DT.
4 engineers and attack. That should work.
Task with the sun. Oh, the Klingons would say it. I never followed that philosophy. I always think it's you're not dying for your nation, you're killing for your nation.
Yeah, yeah,
Difference. If you're dying for your nation, you're doing it wrong.
As someone once put it to me, the goal of being a soldier is not to die for your country, but to make the other guy die for his.
That actually would
Yes.
be Patton who said that.
Pod
Right.
warships have invaded the area around the War Festival. I will be acting as
I do like this intro, it's very nice.
Yeah.
You like how the Kobayashi Maru is flying sideways?
Well, that sounds about
Well-
right.
mine's flying at about a 45-degree angle.
I know sometimes when I take damage that I wind up coming back into it, flying in the wrong direction.
Yeah, actually, I had a glitch in an ice a couple, twice I think now, where I got stuck in another person and we both got glitched to the edge of the map.
I've been killed as on the ground and just had my body dragged around. Which is always good.
This is going.
I'm dead.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, water hit freaking hard when they hit. They're one of the few enemies that are actually a threat.
Concentrate on the heavy artillery, they're the ones that fuck you up the most.
Yep.
Go. Artillery spotted. That wasn't too hard, too bad.
Cool.
Do we get a second wave?
That's the first one. Now we're going to change scenarios.
Ah.
Says 4 uses solar,
As I said, I haven't played it before.
80% of which is gathered by a solar station in Picard. 4 Vaudouar task forces are threatening that station.
Not too bad with a half organised team.
Destroy that station. Stop them.
What are we gonna do this time?
And the
Kill 'em all of them?
station, kill everybody.
So just kill more of them.
Yeah. Basic concept's the same. Kill everything.
I think we're doing the killing stuff, killing part quite well.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's not an issue generally. Go.
I do not want to be stationary, thank you.
No, you really don't.
Yeah, but I am, and I'm actually fine. Maybe I want to be stationary. Let's see what happens. I mean, worst case I die. Oh my god.
Yes.
I only have temporal primary, so I can respawn instantly.
Sending a small task force to destabilize the Vaudouar's tunnels from
The next-
space, but they'll need cover.
Touré.
More murder.
Provided.
Think Harry's got a message for us there?
see him actually fine standing there and just taking.
Hey, as long as you can take the hit.
Because it looked like I could. Well, this one doesn't live long enough to matter. Let's see. Yeah, as far as the shields are up, it's absolutely no issue at all. I mean, it's kinetic damage, so no wonder.
That's right, shoot them all before I can get there. See if I care.
Well, since you said we can do that, we'll do that.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I don't care about them. That's interesting. Which means I can just fly to them and let them shoot me, and I'm fine.
Pushing the VOD warp.
Just notice this thing's got 26 million health.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking a bunch
We're
of it
still
away.
chewing it away.
There he is. Should I use a healer or not? I think I should. Oh, too late, already fully hit again.
Excellent work. I'll admit, I was skeptical that you and your teammates were up to the task. I'm glad you proved me wrong. I'll notify Joint Command that reinforcements will
too
not
bad.
be needed.
Oh,
A handful of
I think it went well.
it went very well.
I mean, the Corvette star stability thing didn't go all the way across, so that's usually a good thing, right?
Definitely a good thing.
Welcome to Risa. Welcome to Risa. Have you picked up the souvenir?
What is it? What is that core stability thing? I kind of skipped all the reading.
It's the fail condition for the TFO.
Ah, okay.
The idea here is that the Vadwar are trying to blow up the Corvette star, and that's the meter of how close they are to succeeding.
So at about 6% at the end there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they kind of got rough.
Yeah, that wasn't particularly good on their part today. So whose idea was to promote Harry Kim? It's the Peter principle. It's the same reason that Janeway's an admiral. I mean, let's be honest. She should be up on charges.
In the first episode, several times, yes.
But you can't do that. She's the hero now, so make her an admiral where she can't do anything to hurt anybody else.
She manages anyways. See the last episode.
Oh yeah, that's right. Didn't Janeway show up in one of the TNG movies?
Yeah, in the last one.
Nemesis.
Thank you.
She was on the monitor. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, even if they manage to make an admiral, she still manages to get several people killed. Several Klingons, I think, she managed to get killed by fucking with the timeline.
Oh yeah.
And of course, even though we are, everyone has signed the Temporal Accords, no one cares that Janeway undid 70 years of timeline. No one cares because she is a hero. She can do that.
Well, like I said, that's why they made her an admiral. It's the reason you don't see Picard as an admiral, because, you know, you promote people into a position where you can basically give them a title
Picard
and then
actually
get rid of them.
told Riker that specifically, is that he had been offered an admiral's seat several times already, and that he'd always turned it down because he felt that being a ship captain gave him more ability to influence things that actually mattered, rather than just sitting around as a bureaucrat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also what Kirk told Picard.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize he had been promoted to admiral in Picard.
Yeah. But he had to do that to be able to push the relief fleet through before it was destroyed.
Welcome to Risa. Welcome to Risa.
Yeah, there are several career choices and yeah, options in that regard.
An admiral in Picard, I think, was because of the fact that him being reinstated, they weren't going to reinstate him as a captain, apparently.
No, he wasn't reinstated in Picard.
Oh.
He wasn't. Everything he did in Picard, he did really as a civilian.
Oh. I probably need to rewatch that.
But given that Picard is on record saying that the FRH isn't a military organization, he has always been a civilian.
Good point.
Yeah, civilians with weapons and military ranks.
Well, military ranks is one thing, but the weapons, yeah. Oops.
Come on. In Star Trek, even a shuttle can destroy a planet, and a shuttle is most definitely available to civilians. Weapons are not a qualifier for civilian or military status.
Well, they do
Starfleet is a military organization.
No,
They-
it's not. Not officially. Yeah, okay, yes, it is, but no, it's not.
they do actually mention in the TV show several times that it's not actually considered normal by Federation standards for vessels to be heavily armed.
Right. Admittedly, they're dancing around it.
Let me put it this way: if you can fly in space, you can kill planets.
Planets are kind of big. You shouldn't be able to kill them so easily.
Just take a rock, accelerate it for a while, let it drift.
The worst example of this in any science fiction I've seen was the destruction of Xanshi in Green Lantern comics. The Green Lantern is fighting someone on the planet. I forget why, but there's this massive reactor on the planet, and as a side effect of the fight, the reactor gets destroyed
Okay.
and takes the entire planet with it.
That's a big reactor.
There's a bunch of how can
That's one of those things where you're like, huh? What? How did that happen?
I mean, even if you could theoretically build a reactor power plant of some sort that can do that, if it has a catastrophic failure, why would you ever build one?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just one of those things where it ends up being this major plot point, and it just, the whole thing just like didn't feel right, simply because of the fact that it just, like, one, it's a freak accident in the first place, and two, it's kind of sort of dumb as a basic idea, I guess you could say.
It's almost as good as people as in Star Wars, where people look up from a planet at the edge of the galaxy and see the center of the Imperium detonate in the sky.
Oh yeah, that one where they fire the weapon across the galaxy from one planet to another, and people are literally watching it from the ground.
Across the galaxy.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally, they were at the edge of known space, about 2,000 light years from the target.
So
I don't
it should
question
have
that they can
taken
shoot it,
couple
but
of
you
years.
shouldn't be able to see the
No, you
target
wouldn't.
planet detonate
No.
in the sky
Well, you
on
wouldn't.
your own planet.
No, if it has to go that far, light would take 2,000 years to get back to you. You wouldn't see it.
And even if it reaches you, you might see a tiny blimp in the sky.
The
Yeah.
part about this that made it extra stupid is that
Extra stupid.
third-party
Same thing.
bystanders on planets other than the one firing the weapon and the one getting shot at could see it too.
Yep.
He did
And
the
and
same
even
thing.
Better?
He did the same thing in his Star Trek movie. It's a J.J. Abrams trope because they were on a planet in a different star system because Kirk was ejected at warp, and Spock saw the destruction of Vulcan.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, right. Good point.
But in that particular Star Wars movie, they made it even stupider because the firing platform was using rockets for FTL.
Yeah, because that works that way.
I mean, it was a planet, and they used rockets on a planet. Given it was a small planet, only about the size of our moon, but still, it's a planet, and they used rockets to get it to FTL.
See, I don't remember them saying how big that was, but the general appearance of the First Order base was not small, considering that it actually had a proper biosphere covering it.
Two facts. It's a nature-formed object, and it's which is spherical, which
So-
ensures a certain size. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be a sphere.
Yeah, if it's natural and it's a sphere that's got a certain amount of mass. Pretty
And
hefty
it has
amount of mass.
atmos-
It
And it has a
probably had
breathable
more mass.
atmosphere.
It's got a lot of mass.
What I was getting at is that it's probably closer to the size of Earth than the original Death Star.
Yep. I think it's actually the size of the moon, roughly. But still. The other part is it actually has a breathable atmosphere. That means at ground level, the atmospheric pressure has to be high enough for normal people to breathe without any sort of technology being involved.
Well, what I was thinking of is that you remember that scene where you have Ray and
Emo dude?
yeah, emo dude. Let's call this
Emo dude.
the scene where you have Ray and emo dude doing a lightsaber duel on the surface of the thing. You see geological activity or a vague simulation of it as the power systems inside the giant reactor overload, and
Yeah.
you have like cracks in the ground.
Yep. That also
When you look
requires a
at
certain
that-
size.
When you look at that, though, that's exactly what it's getting at. Is that the way this is portrayed? It's like a full-size planet, not a,
Say, friend, there's a bunch. How can I?
I hate it when they
Because-
get the science wrong. I realize it's fantasy more than it's science.
Part of what made that particular scene interesting, though, is that they're literally fighting in the middle of a forest. Not
Just
some,
before,
like a barren rocky plain. No, it's a forest.
Just
But
before I
no.
jump off for the evening, just to kind
Actually,
of
you know
point
what?
out,
The
is your
fact that the forest had snow also implies natural weather formations.
Yep.
So,
okay. So just to point out here, just before I jump off for the evening, because I need to get going, you're trying to apply physics to not just something that's fiction, but a fiction that's already trying to show you space magic called the Force. So almost everything is invalidated about what we think is how things work from a physics point of view in Star Wars, based on the fact that they have the Force. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to leave everyone to it. So have a lovely evening, everybody.
you too.
Stay safe.
Same to you.
See you later.
Take care. Duffy says, "Thank you, Boom. Finally, you say something I agree with." Oops. Well, I guess I missed this one.
As one person just described Star Wars, it's
Space fantasy?
It's Space
Yeah.
Wizards.
I mean, it literally has space wizards in it.
Yeah. I mean, even the old dude is essentially a Gandalf clone.
The old dude.
Come on. They don't deserve names, not after Disney massacred them.
Ugh.
Before Disney, they had names. Afterwards, I don't care.
Well, I don't blame you about that. Did I miss
To
that
be
one?
honest,
to
that's
God.
actually one of the things that a lot of people have commented with Marvel Comics is that in many ways, after DC took over Marvel Comics, the general quality of comic books has gone down.
No. Let me write that down.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Though I must say, of all the different things they effed up in the Disney Star Wars,
Yes.
the thing that annoyed me the most wasn't any of the signs that they got wrong. Whatever, I don't care. I mean, I bitch about it, sure, because it's fun, but I don't really care. The one thing that I really disliked is we saw the rise of Anakin, or even for him Luke. Sorry, Anakin and Luke after him. We saw the rise of those, and they needed years of dedicated training to become where they ended up.
Yeah.
And in the first several months to a few years, they were essentially just normal people with
Yes.
tiny extra.
Yeah.
And then we had that lady Jedi,
Mary
sorry,
Sue?
essentially, who just because not even plot, because whatever, she suddenly learns everything without a trainer
I know. I
For a
know.
limited time
in
only,
days.
Yeah. Yeah, no. The fact that she was able to pick up those things instantly without practice makes her a character you can't empathize with. There's no struggle. It's just like, oh, magic, she can do everything. Well, that's not interesting.
Yep.
With Luke, you got to watch him learn stuff, not be particularly good at stuff, get better at stuff. You know, yes, we know it's Rey.
And before with Anakin. It was always, they get picked up, they get taught, they learn, they become strong, they become very strong, and you switch to a new character.
One of the things I noticed that I didn't think about the first time I saw that movie was that if you look at it from a certain perspective in the opening scene where you first see her, she does a few things you wouldn't expect non-Force users to do.
Such
Like,
as?
free climbing the inside of a wrecked Imperial Star Destroyer without any sort of safety equipment, apparently. Upside down or something like that, and because she's like crawling around literally on the inside and underside of walls, looking for parts that aren't broken yet.
Well done. Well, how can I?
Yep, no sane person would do that.
Okay,
But
so,
I never accused any Force user of being sane.
well, Duffy says the idea behind Rey was the Force chose her. And that's fine. You can actually make a good story out of that. They didn't
You
make
mean
a good
like Anakin?
story out of that. That
Yeah,
wasn't what they were
it's
doing.
One of those things is that
There's a bunch
when you
of
look
tech.
at
How
it from
can
a
I-
certain perspective, you can kind of like see like this is what they were going for when they created the character, and it becomes pretty obvious when you like look at those three movies as a whole that somewhere in the middle they changed their creative direction as to what they were
Yeah.
trying to do, and that made the character not work the same as it should have.
Well,
Yeah.
it was very hodgepodge on how they built those characters.
Well, that's just it, though. Is that I think it looked hodgepodge because of the fact that one person decided they wanted to do this, and this, and then another person is like, no, we can't do that. We have to do something else instead.
Yeah, but they
And-
didn't have it figured out before they started making the movies. Is the problem.
Well, I think that they didn't write all three movies as a whole. They wrote the first movie, and then, certain of the assumptions made when writing the first movie didn't get used when writing the second or third one.
Right, right. So, well, by the time they got to the third one, they had so many plot issues that they had to just kind of scramble to fill in the blanks. But it really was a lot of characterization by check off the boxes, which you can do. You can write a good story with check off the boxes. Well, you can write a decent story with check off the boxes.
Check off the boxes is a simple way to quickly explain large aspects of a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like this character is a police officer who does his best to be a good cop and blah 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 blah.
Right.
That
That's-
works
that-
perfectly
that-
well for
that's-
side characters.
That's a quick, simple way to establish
Say,
many
friend, there's a
aspects of a
bunch. How can
character's personality and backstory.
I'm going to jump off the topic slightly. Disney used character development and design with that same method to make a situation work for them. The children would have a dysfunctional family and no guidance from the family, and then they'd be put into a situation where they had to act on their own. And anyway, there's this whole set formula for how they did things, and it actually worked very well. If you go back and you look at every single Disney movie cartoon, for decades, that was the plot. And it was very much just check off the box, this, and this. But the thing is that it worked.
If they do it well.
Well, they didn't even have to do it well. They just had to do it. And
Yeah,
then
you still have to
when
connect
they
the boxes
got
together.
into the live action movies, where they got away from being kids' entertainment, they didn't know what the formula was. And they got way off target. And they still don't know what the formula is.
You found it. Quickly, dig it up and bring it back to me at my
What works for a kids' movie, which is where their forte was, doesn't necessarily work for adults.
Well done. Well, how can I?
It would actually help if they had an idea what they are doing before they start working.
Yeah. Who was actually I kind of got that same feeling from Discovery. They didn't really know how to write a solid character. And WC was talking with me when Discovery first came out and made a couple of suggestions on how they simply could have recrafted the story chronology, and it would have changed it entirely into not a character you like at all, but a character whose motivations and actions were understandable. And he was right. and it was simply recrafting the timeline, but they didn't think of that.
To be honest, though, that sort of thing is a common thing you'll notice when looking back at fictional works, because there's a lot of comic book story runs where the person writing it had certain underlying assumptions about the story that they were writing that didn't actually make it into print, and
Yeah.
the story
You
kind
found
of
it. Quickly,
is
dig it up and
missing
bring it back to
something
me at my camp.
without them.
Yeah.
And
But do you-
How can
then
I help?
later on you find out that they had written the story under the assumption that they were going to be able to write a follow-up to the story, but that follow-up never materialized because
Yes.
Other things happened.
Well, I used to write a lot of fanfic, and one of the issues a lot of people have with fanfic is they don't like to read them because they're works in progress. And when you write a whip, it's really hard to get the structure right because you're never entirely sure what the next chapter is going to be. You think it's going to be X, Y, or Z, and it doesn't work, and so there's no way to go back and unwrite what you've already put out there.
Well, as one person pointed out to me about that sort of thing, though, is that as a writer, yes, that's true. As a reader, well, it's not really any different than reading comic books on a once-a-month basis. You don't really know what next month's comic book is actually going to talk about.
No, that's true.
It may be a 90-degree plot turn.
Yep. Actually, I really enjoy fanfics. Really enjoy them. And I've read a couple that had 7,000 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing with
and
fanfic
like them.
is the ones that look for those unfinished plot devices where the story kind of jumped off the rails a little
You
bit,
found it.
and
Quickly, dig
you
it up
as a
and bring it back
reader
to me
don't
at my
actually
camp.
know what the original person was thinking, but
Well
someone
done. How
just
can
makes
I-
something that they think is, reasonably close to what it might have been.
Yeah, I will say that more than a few people decided they didn't like my stories at the halfway point because it took a twist that they weren't expecting, which to me, I knew exactly where it's going to go, but that's it. I knew where it was going to go. I had my general outline for the storyline. But that doesn't mean that it's fun to read that if it's not going the way you expect.
The one thing I've noticed is that you can, as a writer, telegraph where the story is going.
Oh, yeah.
But since the reader doesn't know that it's a telegraph cue,
You found
they
it.
may or may
Quickly,
not
dig it
even
up and bring
notice
it back to me at
that
my
you
camp.
put it in there.
Yep.
And then they go back and they're like,
Well done.
oh,
Well, how
really?
can I help?
Yep. If you're actually playing role-playing games, D&D and whatnot, particularly as if you're the GM in those, you're very familiar with that problem.
Because I used to do fanfic writing, and I mean, that's actually one of the things that I stopped doing when I started doing Foundry missions in Star Trek Online.
There's a
Is
bunch of
I did
temporary- How can
Foundry
I-
missions instead of fanfic writing
Mhm.
because Foundry missions are like fanfics, except that you can have other players actually see what you
Yeah.
imagine the environment to be, and so on and so forth. But that was actually one of the things, is that if you look at okay, I would have to oh yeah, I really should upload the recordings I made of some of those missions. But some of the missions I did were actually based on things that are, I guess you'd say, unresolved plot threads
Mm-hmm.
from Star Trek history.
Yeah.
Like, for one, the Green Site infiltration mission. It involved a race that has been
You
seen
found it.
recently
Quickly,
in
dig it up
a
and
Star
bring it
Trek
back to me at my
production,
camp.
but hadn't been seen for something like 40
Well
years,
done.
upwards
Well,
of
how
that,
can I-
real time.
Okay.
Care to guess which race that was?
No.
Vendorians.
Okay, so that's
There's so many
I don't want
races
to say
that
it's
only appeared in
obscure,
one
but
episode.
yeah. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's
Well, part
fine.
of
It's
the
been
reason
introduced.
Why I chose the Vendorians though is because their homeworld is in stone.
How can I?
You've mentioned that before, yes.
Yeah, but the simple fact that Vendor
Yeah, yeah, it's there.
is the place where Divide at Impera took place is something I personally found to be incredibly relevant for storytelling purposes. It's like the Romulans were doing research into anti-shapeshifting stuff in orbit of the homeworld of a shape-shifting race.
Yeah, where else?
But the interesting thing with that, though, is that the Vendorian shapeshifting has been mentioned in Star Trek to be something that has a wide variety of uses, and the idea that the Vendorians could somehow bypass the Federation's attempt at quarantining them into their home system is the entire reason why I wrote that mission. Is that it's a Federation colony world that the colonists find out that there's actually a Vendorian colony on the planet already, and that's what you are there to deal with, is the fact that the colonists are trying to figure out what the heck is going on, while you, the player, are there to, what you end up doing is discovering that there's a Vendorian colony on the planet, but you have to, go around and investigate all of the things that have happened to the non-Vendorians who are attempting to colonize the planet. Also, since I made this after the Cryptic developers did the TOS expansion, I had the Federation colony be Violaceans, because why not have purple people?
Quickly, dig it up and bring it back to me at my camp.
Yeah, well. The Violaceans are that purple race that was part of the Battle Conference.
Mm-hmm.
They do almost nothing but show up as random NPCs in Star Trek Online, and quite frankly, they were a one-off Federation member of the week for a single specific episode in the original series. But hey, whatever.
Yeah, the race of the week. So Swarm Not Wasted made a comment about people who do fan fiction but get away from the original concept of what the media is. If you're writing Star Trek Online, if you're writing Star Trek, there is within it the ability to play with concepts like politics and current issues in the body of the story. And that's actually been one of the key things that I've loved about Star Trek, is it allows you to do that. But one issue I always have with fanfic is when, and I'll do the easiest one here, fanfic porn. Porn is porn, and all you're doing is sticking two characters' names on there, which has nothing to do with the development of the story. Does it have to do with those characters? Does it have to do with standing plot? No, it's just various ways to intersect bodies. And a lot of times I find Swarm Not Wasted, same thing. If you're just doing it to do a discussion of politics and your attitudes, and you can't bring them into the body of those characters the way they've been established, or find a way to bring your character in and create a plot around it, then it's really not interesting.
Well, this is actually something that I've had discussions with about comic books many times, is that in comic books, having one writer talk about one thing and then having another writer later on reuse that same idea and use the idea in a completely different manner will often result in the same kind of drastic role change, I guess you could say. Like one debate that's come up in comics quite a lot, and that deservedly so, to be honest, is the whole thing with Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, and Mary Jane. Like, it's like, in the comic books, Peter Parker and Mary Jane actually got married at one point.
Yeah.
And later comic book writers decided they wanted to retcon that out of existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's that sort of thing. Is that, I mean, it happens in a fiction, in like officially sanctioned fiction more often than it probably should.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't exactly fault fan fiction writers for that when it's something that real comic book writers do too.
Well, you can
Yeah,
retcon
but
stuff
keep
if
in
you
mind-
can do it in the body of the story. I mean, there's a way to do it.
And keep in mind, it's we don't like it if it happens in real, for real either. So we'd hate it either way.
Yeah, I personally think it's bad writing, whether it's fan fiction or not.
Mhm.
It's just that it's not exactly something unique to fan fiction.
Yeah.
Well, my argument usually is if you're going to write something that requires a retconning of an established canonical story or character or whatever, just write your own damn characters and write your own stories. It's not that hard to write your own. Well, okay, it is a little harder to write your own universes,
Honest,
but
that's
it's not that
another
hard.
thing with official comic book writing that comes up is new characters that get introduced because a new writer wants to do something new,
Yeah.
and then they disappear, never to be seen again.
Yep. Well, how many times have we seen? It wasn't Wonder Woman. Who's been? Oh, Captain Marvel has been rebooted. How many times now? Way too many.
Flag at the end of the race.
Because they can't really get
Once
it
is too many.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. It's not my cup of tea, but you know, the fact that they keep rebooting it because they don't really know where to go with it, it tells me something about the fact that it's not well thought out, and they try to put the politics of the moment or the situation of the moment on it, and then a year later they're going to reboot it again because
But
they
then they should
really
make
don't.
that the theme. Then they should
As-
make that
as
the
someone
theme.
Who's read a lot of comics with Captain Marvel in them, there's actually several problems with the character that the writers of it don't really seem to want to actually properly address, and just want to kind of sort of
Oh,
sweep
there's
under
more
the
than a
rug.
few problems with that character.
Well, okay, there's a long list of problems with
Yes.
the character. I'm not going to say
One,
there's
he
not,
exists.
but I'm talking about like conceptual problems and not, you know, like bad writing problems.
Okay.
Like, she's an individual using the abilities of an alien race that she's not actually part of, and that's like normal for her or something now anyways. But the thing is though is that this ends up interjecting her into interstellar politics
Mm-hmm.
in a way that from a real world politics standpoint is political suicide
Yeah.
in this sort of thing where realistically this is sort of behavior that would piss off everyone. And,
Yeah. Absolutely.
like for example is the fact that whenever she gets into fights with Skrulls, she almost always kills them.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things is that when she fights Kree, she's like, oh, who are you? Why are you here? No, I don't want to talk to you. Go away. That sort of thing. With Skrulls, if the Skrulls even blink so wrong in her general direction, she often kills them.
Well, you know, again, that comes down to lousy writing.
Yeah, Marvel is really lousy at writing Skrulls a lot of the time because the fact that they're cannon fodder bad guys who get wiped out in giant droves for arbitrary reasons just because they want to have a big story. It's like the problem with Secret Invasion that utterly ruined the event for me as a whole was the ending.
Okay.
Um,
If you can elucidate on that?
I was getting that. The simplest way to put it is that they ended the Secret Invasion
There's a bunch
Mhm.
of them. How can I?
by killing every Skrull on Earth.
Right.
Every single one. Okay, there might have been a few specific exceptions, but all of the Skrulls that were, attacking the various superheroes and or supervillains around the world got killed.
Okay, but you know,
But from a writing standpoint, this kind of makes sense because of the fact that they're, Skrulls with exceptional superpowers that would be, a major, shall we say, shift in terms of, super bad guys that the heroes would logically have difficulty defeating in the future.
okay.
Is, why did they make hundreds of them for this event just so they could kill them all?
Well,
Quickly, dig it up. and
okay.
bring it back
The
to me.
issue I have whenever you've got somebody who kills them all is if at any point that character has espoused an attitude that would make killing others a reprehensible act except by necessity. So no matter what, anytime you have that kill them all, it's done for the convenience of the writer or to make a point, but it's not necessarily done to make the character consistent.
From a real world sense
With a couple
of
exceptions.
morality,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense in a lot of cases with Secret Invasion.
Well, Rasul, you actually brought this up a couple of times when you and I have been chatting, and that's what made me think about it, is, especially in this game, here we are members of the Federation, and what do? We just go out and shoot everybody.
I mean,
Yep.
in the context of the game, you could say that you're not actually like killing everyone you shoot,
Then
because
the ship shouldn't blow up.
yeah. That's one of the things that's kind of sort of that throws a bit of a curveball in that one. True.
Yeah,
And
I understand it. It's a game. It's just that, ever since you mentioned that, I keep that in mind when we're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually like a kill counter that includes crews.
On your mark.
See, well, one of the things about the Secret Invasion event that also kind of caught my attention is that there's actually multiple Skrull characters in comic books that weren't in the event,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the part where it gets kind of weird is that there's only one of the previously established Skrull characters who is actually in the two. I think it's two that were like previously established characters that had been written in the comics for multiple years. Granted, this is in part because of the whole killing Skrulls is apparently fine, even if the killing is generally bad, thing that Marvel sometimes does. But also there's the fact that the two characters that I was mentioning that specifically don't actually get killed off in the event, and they're like, one of them instead gets banished to the negative zone, I think it is, some sort of weird interdimensional place that's generally terrible. Instead of getting killed, she gets left there. The other is Clerk the Super Skrull, who is literally the first named character in who to be a Skrull in Marvel Comics, and the oldest Skrull character that is in the comics. He doesn't get killed off either. Of course, he also decides at some point in the middle of the event to stop trying to help the Skrulls invade Earth.
Well, if you write it so it makes sense, that works. But I'll lay odds they probably don't write it so that makes sense. Or do they?
But part of the reason why I was mentioning that, though, is because the fact that at one point in time, the Avengers find a ship made to look like an Avengers flying craft in the in Antarctica somewhere, and they realize that all the people on this craft are Skrull duplicates of Avengers, who have the same powers as Avengers, but also Skrull shape-shifting abilities, and also they were subjected to this Skrull deep cover infiltration process that causes them to forget their original identity and act like whoever they're supposed to be impersonating. Well, all of them die. Because the Avengers are like, no, we're getting rid of you.
I mean, look at Tony. I actually believe that most of the Avengers would actually do that. Not all of them, but most of them.
Well, see, it's just one of those things that just kind of like feels strange because of the fact that, I mean, yes, Skrulls are hostile, invading aliens, but
Yeah.
only sometimes.
On that point, I would actually mention another thing. I personally group enemies into roughly three categories, 2.5 maybe. The primary categories are those that I consider more akin to a natural disaster. Say, the Herc, before we learned that they were intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
The Borg. There is the Borg before we learned that we can cure them. Essentially, species that there is no way that you can interact with them that isn't hostile,
Yeah.
and there's no way to turn them into something that isn't inherently hostile and dangerous. And those need to be eradicated.
Here's where the Skrulls fit into that category. Okay, you remember how Marvel Comics did this possible future thing called the MC2, where it's a future version of various Marvel heroes as they would be something like 20 years down the line.
Okay.
Guess who that MC2 had as the Fantastic Four?
I have no idea.
Johnny Storm, you know, same guy from the regular version.
Right.
The Invisible Woman, again, same as the usual.
Okay.
The Thing, however, is retired and has been replaced by one of his kids. And also, there's the fact that Susan Storm isn't actually a full-time member. She just kind of helps out a little bit every now and then. And she got replaced by a Skrull named Elijah the Laser Fist as a full-time member of the Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where Skrulls fit into the can you talk to them and reason with them kind of enemy sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the second group. The second group is people that can potentially become something that isn't inherently hostile. I consider the first type kind of like a virus. There's no real use in a virus, you just eradicate it.
The original story with the Skrull, the first time the Skrulls were ever seen in Marvel Comics, that was a big part of the thing, is Reed Richards attempting to negotiate with the Skrulls, because the Skrulls had a very specific reason for wanting to come to Earth and actually had no interest in killing people.
For a limited time only, I will be awarding bonus favors to anyone who comes.
The Skrulls were fine with like, we're going to take over, and as long as you do what we tell you to do, nothing bad will happen. That was the Skrulls' approach towards dealing with humans.
Well, that actually can make for a really interesting story.
Well, Reed Richards found a creative way to prevent this group of Skrulls from returning to their homeworld without actually killing them.
Okay.
Which, in a way, was worse than killing them. He used some form of hypnosis to cause them to think they were cows, and because of their Skrull shape-shifting abilities, they took on the physical appearance of cows.
Of cows. Oh, that's weird.
And a later writer picked up that one and took it in a really, really, really direction. But it's one of those things where it's like, wait a second, why did Reed think that just leaving them in the middle of an ordinary field with next to real cows was a good idea? I mean, the whole thing of like causing them to temporarily forget who they are is bad enough, but leaving them in a pasture where someone is going to literally eat them later, yes, that's what happened to them.
Ooh, that's interesting. You could turn that into a whole really dark storyline.
They did.
Oh,
Trust
really?
me, they did. It's where the Skrull kill crew came from. See, because it turns out that humans eating Skrull organs
Yeah.
does weird things to human biochemistry.
That's what I was going to say. That could be a really fun storyline.
And it caused them to, one, go insane, and two, to develop a strange approximation of Skrull shapeshifting that was not fully stable, and also gave them the ability to instinctively sense whether or not someone near them was a Skrull.
That's interesting.
But like I said, it made them insanely murderous.
I like it. That was hopefully. I didn't mean to do that. I hope that was done on purpose because that could be a really interesting story.
Well,
Anyways,
as
I need
opposed
to
to-
go to bed.
All right. Yeah. It's some horrible hour of the night for you. Go to bed.
Yep, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, go to
See you
bed.
guys.
a large
Take
part
care.
of the Skrull Kill Crew story was very deliberate, like horror sort of things, because of the fact that the writer seized on something that was a long forgotten plot thread in the Fantastic Four comics, and that is the fact that Reed Richards had left that group of Skrulls literally to die.
Well, that's kind of horrible.
Hmm.
Let's see. So I'm Not Wasted says some good news. My favorite mutant is getting a new movie. 2022. Which mutant?
Said person of color, and there's a very long list of those.
As long as it's not James Bond again.
You found it. Quickly, dig it up and bring it
Sorry.
back to me at my camp.
Oh. That could be okay. That could be okay. Depends on how they do it, but that could be fun.
Well done. Well, how can
Oh, Miguel O'Hara. Yeah, he's a fun character.
Yeah. Oh, who was the Latino superhero, one of the first ones? God, it would have to be 20 years ago. I can't even remember who it was. And then they took away all of her personality when they redid her, and I'm going to have to go look that one up.
Well, you'll have to be more specific.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was at all.
Okay, what abilities?
That's it. I can't remember. It's been so long since I read it.
Do you remember any
No,
specifics?
I don't remember anything. Other than it was one that they rebooted and they kind of nerfed her. It's not like when they redid The Tick for the live version and they changed quite a few of the characters around and took away all their bizarre fun stuff. Like Der Fledermaus became something else, and somebody became American made, and just unoriginal, uncreative, unfun stuff. Which is kind of the opposite of where they've gone now. Here they had a really well-written, well-crafted Latina character, and they just kind of turned her into nothing. Oh well. Hey, so
which comic book?
oh god, like I said, it's
publisher?
it's been 20 years. I cannot for the life of me remember it. I'd have to go research it. Boy, this goes way back, and I'm not even finding her in any of the Googles that I'm looking at. Nope. I'm gonna go have to find her. Okay, there was one. This isn't the one I'm thinking of, but in Daredevil, Maya Lopez. I loved her, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Also known as Echo. very interesting character, at least in some of the stories she's been written in.
Nope, can't find it. I will have to go look.
Now, you don't remember which, setting at all?
No, I really don't. I just remember, getting a couple issues, and here's this well-crafted character, and then they kind of phased her out. Okay, that happens. You get a storyline, and they write a few issues, and then, it's not selling enough, so they morph them into somebody else and do a reboot. And I haven't even bought a comic book in decades. So, no. I'd have to go look. I might still have the old ones. I might not.
Of course, you would have to flip through them. It's like, well, which comic book was I thinking of again? There's a stack of 100. Do I really want to read all of them?
Well, yeah, we get into in the room adjacent to me, I have the boxes of books that I haven't taken off to storage. So maybe I've got a total of 20,000 books that I've moved here, and probably another 30,000 I haven't moved here of regular books. And somewhere in there, I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of comic books. I can't remember what some of the books are. And every now and then I'll go up to my husband, remember that book with, like the characters who were lion-esque and they came to Earth to take over. And he's like, oh yeah, it was Pandora's Planet. Yeah, that's the one. So sometimes he can pull the books out of his brain and I can't, but he's not a comic book guy.
Oh, well, I was thinking you were talking about Thundercats. But
No. This is a story about these lion-like creatures who come to take over the Earth and instead find out about human bureaucracy and the fact that nothing is interchangeable, nothing works together, all these countries are fighting each other even though they're all supposed to be united to fight them, and it drives them nuts and they finally just leave. It's a good story.
I guess when it says Pandora's Planet, it means that the aliens are like, you know what? We don't like this location anymore.
Yeah, no, thanks, but no thanks.
So it's from their perspective, kind of like opening Pandora's box.
That's exactly what it is. But it's well written. Of course, this is old, so this would be 70s and possibly even 60s. Because, I'm old. I've got old books. I have books from days when books were 95 cents, as opposed to these days when they're $9.95. Well, you know what? It is kind of a quiet evening today, so I think I'm going to call it for the evening.
Okay.
And let me make sure I've done this here. Thanks for standing around and chit-chatting with me. I appreciate it. Since I don't have to go into the office in the next 4 hours, I'm going to go to bed because Mr. Insomnia and I had a long discussion last night, and he won, so it's kind of catching up to me now. So thanks. I really appreciate you being here. No show tomorrow night because I'm planning to go to class, except my instructor's been sick, so maybe I'm not going to class. Maybe I'm going to class. I will double check because it's, 6-hour total drive. I don't want to get there and find out he's sick. That would be a bad night.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't want that.
MLP the Chad, thank you very much for the follow. I don't know if you were enjoying our comic book chat tonight, but we should talk about fanfic. I know you have done some fanfic and that you did the Foundry stuff, and I'd love to talk about that some evening, especially if any of you other folks have done it. I know that we've got our Stowe fanfic site on our website, so if anybody ever wants to...
I really should post stuff on there. I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, I should write stuff up and put it here, and then forgot about it.
Well, I posted 11 Star Trek stories on fanfic.net, and I've got 3 that are in progress, but who knows if I'll ever get them done. Especially now that you can kind of do fiction on Amazon, since obviously publishing is a thing, and now they have something called Kindle Vella, so you can do works in progress. As long as you can post 3 or 4 chapters to get people interested, they can buy just a chapter at a time.
I mean, it's actually kind of sort of like the traditional approach to publishing in volumes. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, it's like the traditional approach to publishing comic books is, you print this, you sell it, etc. Obviously, in real world comic book publishing, they don't do each individual exactly separately,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll do a group of them, and before actually like selling them. But still, though, is that it kind of has the same basic thing, is that they don't do like a year long print run
Mm-hmm.
all at once, and you as a reader, you're still going to buy them one at a time anyways.
Yeah. Well, the idea of being able to buy books a chapter at a time can be successful. I mean, okay, the last time I wrote a book, it had 106 chapters in it. So obviously I'd make a fortune if anybody was foolish enough to buy all 106 one chapter at a time versus waiting for the whole book to come out. But it's if you want to try out some stuff, especially if you write shorter stories, there's an Alachi in the water down there. It's a fun way to write.
Oh, also, as one person pointed out to me, that approach also has the antidote to sticker shock effect.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you can buy one issue for, say, 50 cents, I mean, it kind of gives you a very low investment to get started on the setting.
Yeah. Like I was saying, books used to be cheap and enjoyable, and they've gotten so expensive that it's hard for people to want to invest money in books, especially if you're like many people and you read it once through. And I wasn't joking when I said I have 50,000 books, and a lot of them I've read multiple times, but not all of them. And it gets down to do I really want to spend $20 on a book that I'm going to read once?
You can still seek out artifacts, but only for the standard.
Yeah, that is.
So the
very
thought
true.
of, okay, I'll try out a book for 50 cents. I'll see if it's interesting.
Well, see, that's actually one of those things that I've noticed with looking at back issues bins at comic book stores.
Mm-hmm.
Is I can go to the back issues bin and find, okay, the downside with this is that since these are back issues, finding the next issue in sequence is not necessarily possible. However, it's a cheap way to get issues that for things that are basically, it's just cheap comic books.
Mm-hmm.
is a basic reason why it was interesting, is that you put like $5 and get like these 4 different things that you've never seen them before. Like, that's how I got my first Judge Dredd comic.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the things with the Judge Dredd setting that makes it very, very interesting is that the setting generally sucks.
Yes.
See, because it uses this whole like Mad Max style future apocalypse background lore,
Mm-hmm.
where what you could say that Mad Max happened on the other side of the continent, and it would actually be viable in universe. It's just that level of anarchic in most parts of the world.
Okay.
That's the whole reason why the mega cities are a thing, is because the fact that these are like bastions of civilization, kind of akin to the old Greek city-states, where
Yes.
people have fortified positions where they can protect themselves, and most of the rest of the area around it is just wasteland, with like roving raiders and all sorts of bandits and outlaws that no one really wants to deal with.
Oh, true. Makes for an interesting story. or more accurately, it makes for an interesting setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can play with it. And, that gets to world building. If you've got a well-designed world, you can write the story within it. It's one reason, fanfic in a lot of the worlds that are established, Star Trek being one of them, is great because somebody else has done all that legwork for you.
Yeah, see, to me, what is actually the biggest turn off with fan fiction, and it's something that you kind of sort of mentioned earlier, is when you use an established setting wrong.
Yes. Well, of course,
Is it-
depending on how you define wrong. But as I was saying, people will a lot of times write a story and just grab the names of these characters and put it into their story without bothering to do the work to make the character and the actions fit the genre. In the case of Star Trek, it's
Really
very
a proper
specific.
fanfic. It's more like just, I don't know what to call it, but I wouldn't actually call that a fanfic. Because again, it's a whole thing. It's like, is it a Star Trek story if the only resemblance to TNG is that it has the name Jean-Luc Picard attached to it?
Well, exactly. I agree. Yeah, it takes a while to craft a story. And of course, if you get to that point, you can write your own stories, your own universe, your own characters. But sometimes it's easier to start with something that's established and then decide whether or not you've got the courage to go out and create your own.
I just remembered something that I did as part of one of my Foundry missions in that regard that's somewhat questionable in terms of whether it was a good idea, but it's something I liked the idea of doing. Okay, do you remember how in the Gamma Quadrant expansion, they mentioned that the character of Loris that you see in the Gamma Quadrant expansion is not the same Loris that took over Deep Space Nine?
Right.
Well,
Do the sides.
I wrote a Foundry mission prior to them doing the Gamma Quadrant expansion for one of the actual featured episode contests. For
Do the sides.
I forget exactly what the theme of this particular Foundry mission challenge was, but well, I actually made a nearly perfect duplicate of Loris in the Foundry character creator because of the fact that this was a story involving the Dominion and that I was wanting to use Loris as the Dominion contact that the player talks to.
Okay.
Thing is, I wrote her as being the same person you meet on Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
So when the devs did the Gamma Quadrant expansion, I did a small tweak to it and explained that it actually is the same one, and that there's kind of sort of two Lorises in the Dominion now.
Which you could do. I
Well-
can see that being perfectly doable.
Here's the hook I did for that, though. It's something that has a very in-universe basis for it. Loris disappeared going through the wormhole. The idea I went with is that the founders made a replacement Loris because they thought she was dead because she'd been gone for over a decade.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. You can do it because you're staying within the body of events and actions that make perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works.
Raise the roof.
Ah, well.
Well, I will log off here, folks. Like I said, quiet night. We will be on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., same as usual. No show tomorrow night. If I don't go to Bloomington, I'm going to be working on our costumes for Vegas.
Well, Wednesday's 10 Forward Weekly, anyways.
Yeah, I know. I usually listen on my drive home from class, so it keeps me alive in the car. It's a long drive, and it's late at night, and listening to everybody's voice really helps a lot. So everyone, have a great night. We will be on tomorrow morning, and tomorrow night go watch 10 Forward.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot for being here, Mar Hawkman. I appreciate it. And everybody else, have a great night, and we'll talk to you later. And by the way, happy Captain Picard's birthday.
Yeah. And you.
Take care, everyone.